So I haven't made any particular resolution videos for the year. I haven't really made any plans of what I want to do reading wise for the year, I say, but actually I kind of have done. And my plans aren't per se, I want to read X amount of this or X amount of that, or I want to read more of this or more of that. My plans are more like a sort of a way of exploring books throughout the year in a structured way, which I think will probably benefit me, but also in a way that can actually kind of give my channel more of a direction throughout the year, through the way that not only what I'm reading, but the way I'm going to be talking about specific things throughout the year. I feel like I'm just beating around the bush, so I may as well just begin. At the end of December, I had only just come up with this idea, so it wasn't an idea that I could instigate in January. So I'm starting it now. For the rest of the year, every month I'm going to look at a particular theme, and that theme is kind of like a loose term to describe a collection of books which I'm going to be reading that month. The themes are going to be very different throughout the year, so it's not all going to be like, I'm only going to read this genre this month. They're going to be quite different, and within them there's going to be room for interpretation. I guess this is probably the more stricter themes of the month, because this month I'm going to be reading children's books. And particularly, I kind of realise this now, particularly children's fantasy to an extent. I think every book that I'm going to be talking about today has a fantastical element. So what this means for the rest of this month is that not only am I going to be reading the sort of the children's fantasy genre, I guess, I'm going to be creating videos throughout the month, reviewing the books, sort of talking about issues or ideas or thoughts about that particular theme. Basically, all the content for the rest of February is going to be based around children's literature in some way or another. I hope. There's probably going to be other bits and bobs that crop up. We'll see. But this is just kind of how I'm imagining the rest of the month to pan out. So I've got 6 books here, which I picked up as a sort of TBR for this month. These are 6 books that I want to read that fit into this theme. They're books that I was very excited about at the shop, and I wanted to read them. And I guess it's an excuse to kind of read them together and compare, contrast, find likes, dislikes, and find new and interesting things to talk about, maybe. We shall see. I think with children's fiction, I'm only focusing on the sort of 8 to 12 year old fiction. There's one book in here that can kind of border along the line of like for 12-year-olds plus, so it kind of goes into that teen YA section. But they're all kind of within that middle grade genre, which I guess is the more popular term for it on BookTube. So why children's books? I don't really know. A part of me kind of is hoping that throughout this month I'm going to find some books that give me the same feeling that His Dark Materials and the Harry Potter series, and even kind of the Animorphs series, gave to me when I was a young child getting into reading and everything. I feel like it's a genre I don't often actually reach out to or read much from, and I think, which is a shame, because I love really imaginative fantasies, and I feel like within the children's genre realm there's a lot more space to be a lot more fantastical with a lot less logic, which sometimes you just need and is exciting. But I also really enjoy the part of children's literature which makes a book enjoyable for children but also makes it enjoyable for adults. I think that's a very interesting skill for an author to have, so I'm hoping to find elements of that within these books. So what books am I going to be reading? The first one I'm going to be reading is the Wonderling by Mira Bartók. This book follows these sort of people, maybe, who are living in this like home slash school for, I think, Wonderlings, and they're all sort of like mixed matched people. So for example, this character I think is the main character. He's half boy, half fox, and he's missing an ear, and I think he rescues another classmate who is like half girl, half bird, and they escape from the home in which they are kind of like held captured within, and kind of go on an adventure from there on out. I think it's going to be really exciting. The premise of it just sounds absolutely wacky, and I'm intrigued as to whether there's going to be any explanation as to why the characters are like part people, part animal. But if not, I mean, I don't care. I'm in it for the ride and the journey and the excitement. Oh, also, I've also noticed a theme for these books is also blue. Apparently, all the covers are bluish. However you interpret blue, I know there's a lot of like crossover between the blue and greens, but for me, they're all very bluish. So the next one is The Murderer's Ape by Jakob Wegelius, or Jakob Wegelius. This is actually a translated one. I think it's translated from Swedish. Yes, it's translated from Swedish. And Shazza from Hooked on Books read this last year, and I think this became one of her like top favorite reads of the month or of the year to some extent. She really enjoyed it. I really like it not only because it's from Pushkin Press, who are publishers that I actually really enjoy, but also because the sort of like weight or the I was going to say girth, length of this book is one of those books for which is kind of like really comforting. I know I don't often read thicker books. I tend to pick up the shorter books just because I quite like dipping in of the story and then coming out. But when it comes to like fantasy, the bigger the better, the more time there is to get engrossed in the world. This follows a chimpanzee who joins a sort of pirate ship or something. She joins a crew on a boat, and they adventure around the world, and there's a little bit of a mystery in which the chimp has to kind of figure out in order to help somebody that was very close to her. So this one got blurred by Philip Pullman, which I think is a good sign, got a really good review from Shazza, and just has a beautiful cover with a really exciting premise also. So then the next one is one that actually I was more interested in the cover of the second book, because this is the first in the series, and the second one is already out, and that came in, and I was like, oh, this book looks beautiful. So then rather than picking up the second one, I decided to pick up the first one, and that is The Polar Bear Explorers Club by Alex Bell. This is about a girl who joins a expedition, I guess, the Polar Bear Explorers Club, who are going to explore the far north, where there's ice and yetis and polar bears and all of these exciting magical things, and it's just like the adventure of the expedition. Like I said, it's the first one in a series, which I think is a good sign, in that there's going to be more stories coming from them if I do enjoy it and I can get into that series, which I say, but I haven't done very well at continuing a series, but we shall see. The second cover is utterly beautiful. I still really like the first one. It's very, very cool and very funky. Second one is even more so. So hopefully that kind of is more of an incentive to read the entire series. The fourth one that I'm going to be reading is A Place Called Perfect by Helena Duggan. Now this book is about a dystopian place in which everything must be perfect, and then all of the people wear glasses just in case it helps them to stop going blind. But then I think the girl and she meets a boy, I guess, both their dads have disappeared and other strange things are happening in this town. I get the sense there's a sort of policing in which everyone's being watched at all times. And so the girl and the boy kind of have to figure out what's happening to all these people who are disappearing, why are they being watched, and how they can stop them. Again, covered by the illustrations on this cover are absolutely beautiful, and this is probably the least fantastical, but it does have that dystopic feel, which I think is going to be really interesting to read in children's genre, especially since you see it explored so much in adult and in teen. And I think it will be like a very unique way of retelling that genre to an audience who has the capacity to understand it, but has the capacity to understand it in a different way. and it'll be interesting to see how well the author is able to convey that meaning and that message. So then the fifth one I'm going to read is The Eye of the North by Sinéad O'Hart. This book has similar vibes, I guess, to some of the other books, to the Pony Explorer Club and Murderous Ape. It's an expedition to the north to uncover a fantastical beastly creature that lives at the bottom of the ocean or something. It's set on a boat, and the character gets up to all sorts of hijinks and adventures as they search for this beast at the Eye of the North, I assume. I think there is adventure in the extent where the reason people are going after this mythical beast is for perhaps possible misdemeanors, and the main character perhaps might have to stop these misdemeanors from happening. The very traditional sort of things that I am expecting from all of these books. There are going to be conventions which I hope will be followed, but I hope will also be explored in unique and quirky ways. And that's kind of a very exciting thing, especially in a book that has to, capture an audience's attention, which is children's. So I hope my attention and imagination gets captured too. And then the last book that I'm probably the most excited about, just because a lot of people have talked about it, a lot of my friends have told me I need to read it, and a lot of people have said this one has the most Harry Potter vibe, and that's Nevermoor, The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. Now, this book is about a girl who is cursed and is due to die on her 11th birthday, I think it is, and then she, of course, doesn't. And she then gets swept up into this wondrous society for magical people, and she has to go through these trials in order to become part of the society, I believe, or something similar to that. Magic, mayhem, excitement. It has all of those sort of things that you really hope for from a good kids book, adventure, magical fantasy book. And again, first one of a series, which is also very exciting, and the second one is out, and hopefully by the time I get round to reading the second one, it will also be in paperback. So they are the books I'm going to be reading and talking about over the next month. There's obviously going to be other themes and ideas that I'm going to be talking about over the next month through various videos. But I think this genre is going to be perfect for me for February, because it's that sort of dark month where it's very wintry, even though it's the end of winter. It's not quite spring. Life hasn't really begun to flourish. The year hasn't really begun to flourish. And where it's so cold outside, you just want to sit inside with something cozy, something easy to read. And I'm hoping these books will be that. Yeah, I hope you'll stick with me for this month, and I hope you enjoy the content about the theme. And I'll be very interested in getting into sort of discussions around the topics that I meet in these books with you. So I'll see you next time for another video. Bye bye.